Imagine this. You're on a plane, halfway across the ocean, completely cut off from the world. Then, you realize the deadliest predators on Earth are your fellow passengers. Trapped at 30,000 feet, what happens next? The story opens in Hawaii. A ruthless mob boss named Eddie Kim is orchestrating the brutal murder of a Los Angeles prosecutor, Daniel Hayes. Kim is unrepentant, mocking the dying prosecutor and claiming Hayes' nobility is why his son will grow up without a father. Kim boasts about being raised by a single mom and turning out just fine. He orders his men to clean up the mess. Meanwhile, a young man named Sean Jones, vacationing in the area, is riding an ATV through the jungle when he witnesses the murder. He hides, terrified, and sees Kim and his men leave. The news reports the brutal slaying of prosecutor Daniel Hayes, noting his high-profile pursuit of mobster Edward Kim. Kim's representatives issue a statement of condolences and deny any involvement in the hideous act. The report details Kim's ongoing investigation involves charges of murder, racketeering, and police corruption in both Hawaii and on the mainland. Hours later, Sean is cornered in his house by Kim's men. Suddenly, an FBI agent bursts in, guns drawn, saving Sean. The agent introduces himself as Agent Neville Flynn. Flynn confronts Sean, knowing he was a witness. Sean is hesitant, citing the news reports about police corruption. Flynn acknowledges Sean's intelligence for distrusting the local police, but presses him, emphasizing his responsibility as a witness. Flynn, a seasoned agent, dismisses interrogation tricks, cutting straight to the point. If Sean testifies, he might be safe, but if he doesn't, Eddie Kim will kill him. Kim already knows who Sean is, which is why men were sent to kill him. Sean, who was just planning a surfing trip to Bali, feels trapped, lamenting that it sounds like he has no choice. Flynn counters that Sean has choices, but only one correct choice: come with the FBI to LA, testify against Kim, and put him in jail for life. Sean is left to think about it while Flynn and his partner wait outside. At the airport, Agent Flynn and his partner, Agent Sanders, prepare for the flight. They've commandeered first class on South Pacific Air Flight 121 to Los Angeles to transport Sean safely. This causes some disruption, forcing first-class passengers into coach. Among the passengers are a grumpy businessman named Mr. Lewis, a germaphobe named Passenger 1 with his small dog Mary Kate, a rapper named 3Gs with his entourage Troy and Leroy, flight attendants Claire and Tiffany, and young brothers Tommy and Curtis flying solo to meet their mom in LA. 3Gs is busy signing autographs for fans. The flight begins boarding. Agent Flynn speaks with Agent Harris on the ground, who assures Flynn that Eddie Kim is under tight surveillance and isn't going anywhere. Harris jokes about enjoying his new promotion and time with his family, contrasting it with Flynn's high-action job. Unbeknownst to the passengers and most of the crew, Eddie Kim has orchestrated a deadly plan. His men are seen soaking lays in a special pheromone mixture. These lays are then given to passengers boarding the plane. The pheromone is designed to enrage snakes, triggering hyper-aggression and mating behavior. Kim confirms his plan, stating that even if the snakes don't directly get to Sean, bringing the whole plane down is an acceptable outcome. On board, Sean talks to Tiffany, the flight attendant, about Eddie Kim, recounting gruesome stories he's heard. He confirms he's a witness, and Tiffany finds his bravery hot. Other passengers settle in. Mary Kate's dog annoys Mr. Lewis. 3Gs and his entourage observe the other passengers. A young boy is playing a video game, while another passenger is practicing kickboxing moves, accidentally hitting the grumpy Mr. Lewis. Sean notices the flight is unusually empty for a red-eye. A couple on their honeymoon regrets flying to Hawaii if flying makes one of them so nervous. Flynn patrols the plane, encountering passengers. He has a brief, tense exchange with a large passenger in the aisle. The passenger jokes about commandeering the plane, and Flynn replies curtly, then tries to ease the tension by offering a drink. Sean, observing the passengers, is befriended by Mary Kate and Mercedes, who introduce themselves flirtatiously, comparing Mercedes to the car. Sean humorously interacts with Mary Kate the dog. Up in the cockpit, Pilot Captain Stevens and co-pilot Rick encounter unexpected turbulence and lose avionics, plunging the cabin into darkness briefly. Rick works on resetting the breakers, while Captain Stevens tries to maintain control. Suddenly, Rick screams. Something has happened to the captain. Flynn and Sanders are informed. Rick, shaken, reports the captain is dead, likely from a heart attack. Flynn takes charge, confirming they are halfway to LA, and it's faster to continue than turn back. He has the passengers strap in. Rick, still in the cockpit, discovers the cause of the captain's death. A snake hidden amongst the instruments. He stares in horror. Panic begins to set in as snakes start appearing throughout the cabin. They drop from overhead compartments, slither out of air vents, and emerge from paneling. Passengers scream, realizing the horrific truth. It's snakes on the plane. Sanders is bitten almost immediately. Mary-Kate the dog, seemingly sensing the danger, acts out, annoying her owner but potentially avoiding immediate danger. Passengers are urged to move to the front of the plane, where it's initially believed to be safer. Chaos erupts as people trip over each other, trying to escape the slithering menace. Snakes attack indiscriminately, biting passengers in their seats and in the aisles. Agent Sanders is bitten multiple times and quickly succumbs to the venom. Flynn, witnessing the carnage, starts organizing the survivors. He tells everyone to move forward cautiously. People panic, pushing past each other. One snake latches onto a passenger's groin, causing a frantic and vulgar struggle. 3G's entourage, Troy and Leroy, are urged to help. They realize the danger is real. Flynn instructs passengers to create a barrier using luggage and anything else they can find to block the main cabin from the forward section. Passengers frantically grab bags from overhead bins and under seats, building a makeshift wall. While building the barricade, they realize young Tommy and Curtis are missing. Curtis finds Tommy, who has been bitten. He cries, scared for his brother. Flynn reassures Curtis that he's being brave by taking care of Tommy. A woman screams for her baby. Another flight attendant, Grace, is helping injured passengers when she too is bitten. Passengers are in agony from snake bites. Dr. Robert Foster, a passenger, steps forward to help. He instructs people to suck out the poison, but the passenger bitten on the rear refuses. Dr. Foster, Claire, and others try to treat Tommy, who is bitten on the leg. Following Dr. Foster's instructions, Claire uses olive oil to coat her mouth and a razor blade to cut the bite wound, then sucks out the venom. She stays strong for Tommy. Flynn checks on Sean, who is shaken. Flynn reiterates his initial instruction, "Do as I say, and you live." He needs Sean to stay by the airphone and alert him when Agent Harris calls. Flynn realizes they need weapons. The flight attendants inform him they only have plastic sporks. Flynn gives one to a passenger, calling it a weapon. He contacts Agent Harris on the ground, explaining the unbelievable situation. Eddie Kim has filled the plane with poisonous snakes, made hyper-aggressive by a pheromone on lies. Harris is initially incredulous, but quickly mobilizes. He orders a crisis team, the Cargo Manifest, and the best poisonous snake expert in the time zone, Dr. Stephen Price, to LAX immediately. Back on the plane, Dr. Foster treats the injured. A passenger points out that snakes don't normally attack unless provoked. Flynn confirms the pheromone theory. The situation is dire. They need anti-venom, but don't know what kind of snakes are on board or how many different venoms they're dealing with. Administering the wrong anti-venom can be fatal. Flynn realizes they need to identify the snakes. He decides to collect dead snakes to show Dr. Price. Some passengers, overwhelmed and angry, push past the barricade, demanding answers from Flynn. They blame him and the government. Flynn confronts them, acknowledging their fear and anger, but stating that blame won't save them. He urges them to cooperate, explaining they need to identify the snakes to get the right anti-venom. He tells them to find any dead snakes and bring them to him. Sean insists on going with Flynn, citing the choices he has to make. Flynn orders Sean to stay put, emphasizing that if Sean dies, all of this was for nothing. Sean reluctantly agrees. Passengers tentatively venture into the snake-infested areas to find dead snakes. One passenger gets bitten. Flynn is in contact with Dr. Price via phone and Sean relaying snake descriptions. The descriptions are vague. Dr. Price suggests emailing pictures. Flynn remembers 3Gs has a phone with a digital camera and internet. He asks 3Gs for the phone. Flynn goes to check on Rick in the cockpit, but gets no answer. He and Claire find Rick dead, a snake nearby. There is now no pilot. As Flynn is emailing the snake pictures, the plane pitches violently, descending rapidly. Passengers scream and hold on. The ground tower is desperately trying to contact Hula 121, ordering them to pull up. Passengers in the rear are still trapped by snakes. Tiffany tries to help them move forward, but is grabbed by a snake and killed. The plane continues to descend. Passengers are thrown about. Mary Kate, the dog, is killed by a snake, causing her owner Mercedes to become enraged and attack the snake. The remaining passengers manage to climb the stairs to the upper deck, pulling up the retractable stairs to block the snakes. They use luggage to reinforce the barrier. The plane finally levels out at a low altitude. They have lost significant altitude but are still airborne. Rick's arm, bitten by a snake, is stuck on the controls, preventing the autopilot from fully engaging. Claire manages to get his hand off the controls. They are faced with the grim reality: no pilots. Flynn asks if anyone knows how to fly a plane. Claire points to Troy, 3G's friend and bodyguard, who has been watching the chaos unfold. Troy is hesitant but reveals he has over 2,000 hours of flight simulator experience. 3G's encourages him, reminding him this is what he always talks about. Troy agrees to try. The cockpit needs to be cleared of snakes. Flynn has an idea. He takes a strap and ties it to the cockpit door handle. He plans to depressurize the cabin to suck the snakes out. He warns the passengers it will be loud, cold, and they will lose oxygen. He instructs them to strap in, hold their breath, and protect their heads. Flynn gives the signal, and the windows in the cockpit are blown out or opened. The sudden loss of pressure creates a powerful rush of air that sucks the snakes out of the cockpit and forward section of the plane. The scene is chaotic and terrifying. With the cockpit cleared, Troy gets into the pilot's seat. He is nervous, but confident in his simulator training. He talks to the LAX tower, requesting landing clearance and runway information. The tower advises against landing west to east due to a strong tailwind, suggesting a different runway. Troy refuses, citing the need for immediate medical attention for his passengers. He declares he is coming in for a landing regardless of the tailwind. Troy relies heavily on his flight simulator knowledge, navigating the landing sequence. It's a rough, bumpy approach. Passengers brace themselves. Troy struggles with the real-world controls, realizing it's not exactly like the game. He nearly crashes, shouting commands to himself based on his simulator experience. Left. Turn this big motherfucker left. He manages to correct the course at the last second. Against all odds, Troy performs a hard but successful landing. The plane skids to a halt on the runway. Cheers erupt from the exhausted and traumatized passengers. Troy is ecstatic, celebrating his success and bragging about beating his brother's high score on the simulator. Medical teams, ambulances, and emergency personnel swarm the plane as soon as it lands. The ground team, led by Agent Harris, used the pictures Flynn sent to identify the snakes. Dr. Price, the snake expert, identified a desert blacksnake, an illegal species. They tracked down the snake dealer, a man named Kreitler, who admits Eddie Kim paid him to put the snakes on the plane and used pheromones to make them aggressive. Kreitler is arrested, leading directly to Eddie Kim's capture. Anti-venom is rushed to the scene. Injured passengers, including Tommy, are treated. Flynn and Sean disembark, bruised and shaken. Flynn checks on Sean, thanking him and acknowledging they couldn't have done it without him. Sean is ready to put Kim away. Flynn is introduced to Agent Harris, thanking him for his help. He jokes about the Antiguan racer eggs. Survivors are reunited with loved ones. Claire finds Flynn and thanks him, noting he was there for a reason and saved lives, including her babies. She says he saved her life and offers to buy him dinner. Flynn agrees, and they exchange numbers. Sean also thanks Flynn. Finally, Flynn and Sean are seen walking away from the plane. Flynn asks Sean how he liked flying in first class. Sean, recalling Flynn's earlier words, replies with the first thing Flynn said to him, "Do as I say, and you live." Flynn smiles, repeating it back to Sean, signifying their shared ordeal and Sean's survival. The film ends with the sounds of emergency services and the aftermath of the horrific flight.